You're listening to Free Zone Radio.
There are plays you teach, plays you avoid, and then there's that category where you sit back and ask, what are we even doing with this thing? For Free Zone Radio, I'm Jason Crockett, and this is Second Stage. Peter Shaffer's psychological drama, Equus, has typically lived in the nebulous dark outside the polite light bulb circle of high school reading lists. I don't know that most ELA teachers have even heard the title these days, but maybe they've seen a photo of a kid in a horse mask, and that's probably where the familiarity ends. It's a play with a reputation stitched together from rumor, stage lore, and that one person in the department who claims to have read it in college, but can never quite summarize it without clearing their throat a few times. What makes Equus intriguing is the way Shaffer pushes headlong into ritual, worship, therapy, and the kinds of questions people can write off as too adult for high school. And to be fair, it can certainly be a headache these days asking students to be mature long enough to discuss a chapter of anything without losing it over someone saying 6'7", 6'7". But who among us is without humor? The play can be riveting one moment and wildly self-serious the next, which gave me and my co-host plenty to wrestle with and to laugh at as we try to figure out what on earth it thinks it's doing and whether that actually works. So before we try to corral this strange creature, let me bring on that co-host, the one guy I trusted to dig into a psychological tangle without making me feel like I needed a waiver.
Hello again, my name is Drew Haston, and I read the play Equus because I love horse people. I love horses. I love horseman. I love half horse, half man. Equus!
Equus may be too strange to face without someone who can laugh at the weirdness while we sort it out. So come with us as we start, before people think we've lost the plot entirely.
And that's it. This is what crashes and burns my show. This play right here. It's gonna be it.
I've noticed on our other podcast that we're both getting like more confident and just being ridiculous. Because I'm legitimately like, I'm gonna resurrect you as the Dark Man. I know he's the Man in Black. I'm sorry.
But do you?
Well, I keep calling him the Dark Man because, like I said, that's my headcanon. It's Randall Flagg.
It's hard to escape the Man in Black and the Dark Man. Like, it's hard to escape separating like terms like that.
I was thinking that when I was reading last night, this has nothing to do with Equus. If I was thinking that I thought it would be cool in a way if Randall Flagg was just the bad guy in every Stephen King novel, like all 6 million of them. It's just Randall Flagg in all of them.
That's possible.
I wonder sometimes if like authors use the same, I think we talked about it with Charles Frazier. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of their characters are similar because they have like an idea of these characters, and maybe in a way they're sending these same characters on different journeys. They're just kind of modifying it a little bit. You got to think Stephen King does. He's written so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say that, but he's probably got a formula.
I don't want to spoil all my good content for when you do. I do want to record about the gunslinger.
Oh, okay.
I have stories.
Oh, good.
I also found a picture. Apparently, in 2020, they were attempting to do a gunslinger movie.
Oh.
On Amazon Prime or something like that, and it flopped like everything else in 2020. It all failed. But I have a screenshot of the gunslinger aiming at the screen with a horse beside him, and it is not what I pictured.
A horse or a mule?
Well, it could be either. You only see the hind end of it, so I don't know. But it does not look what I imagined Roland would look like.
Well, I'll tell you on this episode, for your Christmas present, I have emailed Stephen King, and he's going to interview with us.
That would be sick. That
It
would be really
cool,
sick.
wouldn't it?
That would be sick.
That's not happening.
I know it's not. Somebody, because there's a billion fan sites out there, and somebody was like, man, I really wish he would sign this. And everybody was like, everybody knows Stephen King does not sign things through mail. He only ever signs in person, and that's so rare. So it's like,
Yeah.
just not rolling your eyes at it.
I could get him.
If anybody could, you could.
That's not true. I don't even know why I said that, to be honest with you.
Nah, you're a pretty chill guy. You could get people to connect. If anybody could get Bill Landry to say, hey,
I can't get him, though. I can't get him.
You haven't gotten him yet.
I've been able to track him down. Never mind.
Maybe if we find an Appalachian play, and we could talk about
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So, Equus, huh? Mm-hmm. Equus, huh? What the heck?
Don't you mean Equus?
What the heck was? For anybody out there who doesn't know, I stumbled upon this play on accident at an AP training one summer because
I love this story now.
It was a good group, but the guy who was behind me, he himself was not pretentious, but he was like one of those I'm doing a lot of great things, whatever.
So he was pretentious. It's okay. Continue.
I don't want to sound judgy.
He was pretentious.
I'm sure he was a great guy, but our instructor, golly, when she found out that he taught Equus to her class, she gushed, and I got it wrong because they pronounced it wrong. All of them called it Equus. So I didn't know any different, so I just called it Equus.
Yeah.
Even the pretentio guy called it Equus. So
Well, I think that goes along with the people who would view this play to look at it and say,
Equus.
what a masterpiece. If you're going to do it right.
Right?
Yes.
We're not going to dumb it down. We're not going to dilute this. She was, the question was, what do you love to teach in your AP classes? And to be honest, I was only thinking about my honors 10. So I said The Hobbit, because for us at that time, that was the cool thing I loved to teach. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know. I think I said something like Macbeth. This guy answered Equus, or he called it Equus. But he answered Equus. And the woman gushed about it. And the woman on the front row was like her wannabe, I don't know, second in command. And she gushed about it. And I was just thinking, okay, well, maybe that's a really cool thing to teach to a high school AP Lit class.
He's probably winking at him.
They also said this line of like, oh man, would you ever consider moving to my school? I want you in my department. And the woman next to him was his department chair. And she's like, no, he's mine. And I'm just sitting in between them like, staring up at my eyebrows, just like, what even is this? Equus, huh? So that's what this show is supposed to be about, reimagining what works in the high school English classroom.
I'm thinking that guy was probably like, I bring in a live horse. Equus too.
He calls his horse Equus, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even get how, like, having read the play, I don't even get how they get that wrong. Because
I don't know
you're
either.
right.
It's in the play.
It literally phonetically says it, ek. Like, and early on too.
Well, and
it's a short play.
Equine, equestrian. Let's come on. Let me be pretentious.
Right.
English teacher. Let's look at the root words here.
I do got to admit, I was blind about it too, and I saw the title, and I thought, oh well, this must be one of those loftier plays. So I kind of bought into the pretension.
It's okay.
I was dumb. Equus. That almost feels Equus. This is supposed to be Peter Shaffer's 1973 play, premiered in London. Early cast of people that it was known for. Peter Firth is a name that gets mentioned a lot, but I don't really know any of the original cast about anything. It wasn't until it came over to Broadway that I recognized a name. Richard Burton performed in this.
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins performed in this.
Daniel
Radcliffe in 2008 with Richard Griffiths.
Leonard Nimoy
also performed in this. In the 2008...
I would have loved to have seen that.
Because Leonard Nimoy plays Dr. Dysart, so you're asking him these questions. I don't even know how you do his impression. But I'm certain to reference the 2008 version with Daniel Radcliffe, who was famous for playing...
Alan Strang.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Harry Potter.
Oh. Sorry.
Who's famous for playing Harry Potter. Then you've got Richard Griffiths in the same production playing Dr. Dysart. Richard Griffiths played Harry Potter's mean Uncle Dursley. So on stage, you have Harry Potter confessing his equine love to Uncle Dursley. And it's bizarre. And off to the side...
That was what I meant to say.
Off to the side, you've got Kate Mulgrew playing Hester Solomon. Kate Mulgrew, to any Star Trek fans, was famous for playing Captain Janeway in the Voyager series. Leonard Nimoy played Spock in the OG series. Eileen Atkins, Joan Plowright. Like, you got some famous names that played in this play before. Do you care? Yeah, well, you don't. I don't care whether you care or not. You have to give us a summary.
Oh.
I want you to pretend you have to explain this to a ninth grader. Yeah, how would you explain it to your ninth graders?
Okay. Oh, gosh. Explaining it to freshmen, I would say that Equus is a play about a very disturbed boy named Alan Strang, who is in a psych ward because he has stabbed horses' eyes out of the stable that he was employed at because he has this worship sensual relationship with horses. And that's probably as far as I would go with freshmen.
Okay.
Because I was going to say, it kind of gets into like some homoerotic stuff.
At times.
It gets, there's like just some other layers to things that I don't think I could explain to the fresh.
There's a lot of layers.
The froshies. I want to ask you a question really quick. And we talked about this last week on Lord of the Flies. When I started reading Lord of the Flies, I knew that it was British.
Yeah.
When I started reading this before I got into any type of background or anything, I could just tell it was English.
Yeah, right.
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think that do you know what I'm saying? Because...
What do you mean?
How can we tell just right off the bat that it's English before I got to like certain spots that identified it as English? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I think it was references in the first page or even the first couple of pages,
it just has a vibe to it. I don't know how else to say that. I don't know if that makes sense.
How do you pick up a vibe?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to like figure out. Like, is it just if you read a lot, you can start to say like, ooh.
Maybe.
It's kind of like if you listen to a lot of rock and roll.
Okay.
And you're like, oh, okay, I can pick up on this guy's accent here. He's English. Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas I think if you weren't really like attuned, if you didn't listen to a lot of rock and roll, maybe you just listen to country music a lot and then you get into rock and roll, you listen to a few things, you probably wouldn't be able to tell a British band from an American band. But if you really like listen to rock and roll, you can, because I feel like I can identify like a British band pretty quick.
So you think modern English theater or modern British theater has a flavor?
Well, I mean, just like literature, English literature, just period. I don't know.
I think for me,
do you think that that's
references. Weird? No, I don't think that that's weird. I think.
Or do you think that like it's just the aura of Equus?
I think it was the horse. I think it was the horse. Now, I'd like you to get out a little book and write about why that's true. I'm going to give you a recorder here. I'm giving you the microphone.
And I would give you a recorder.
I'm just going to leave the room, and I want you to just talk about why you think it's British. That's what he does with Alan, remember? He gives him a recorder and just says, I just want you to talk.
It's a trick. You're tricking me.
I do think it's, British. But other than me picking up on some of like the place and the way they say hello, because in the book it's printed hello, and some other things, I don't know that there was anything distinctive about. Oh, also, she's a magistrate, so that was a clue. And saying that it was something that she had tried. I don't know. it made me think, okay, well, I'm definitely Britain.
I bet your Equus friend thinks it was like set in New York City.
Mr. Equus.
He's probably going to come across this and be like, I'm going to email these people.
I'm definitely
insulted me for the last time.
He wore these billowy shirts and billowy pants and sandals.
Like Jerry Seinfeld?
Yes. It was like a pirate shirt with a billowy set of pants and sandals.
That's so fun.
I don't know.
I'm being very malicious on this one.
It is psychoanalytical. So it's a psychological story. It is a story about repression, a story about, I think also a safe for the classroom thing for me to talk about is that it's a story for how the modern world confines us. And
you got a lot more out of this than.
Oh, yeah. I know. I'm just, I was thinking about how dissatisfied the doctor is in his job. And right from the get-go, he's worried about, ruining kids by healing them. And that the civilized world, it eliminates some of the wildness in us. Mm-hmm. And on some level, Alan Strang is worshiping the wildness that he wants inside him.
You are correct.
There's no way I can publish this episode.
I could not have phrased that better. Okay.
I tried explaining this to my AP kids the other day, and I mean, you have to imagine that a senior AP Lit class is expected to be one of the more mature classes in the building. And from the get-go, they saw what I was reading, and I said, well, it's about a man who is obsessed with his vision of a horse. And that right there hit red flags everywhere. People were like, okay. And I said, well, even if we look beyond some of those suggestions, it's a psychoanalytical play about us conflating our views with wildness inside us, the animalistic side of you with your vision of Jesus, your vision of worship, about things that constrain us and warp us and all. And they were like, get back to the man with the horse. And I said, well, he blinds 6 horses right from the get-go. Like, that's the first thing you hear about is this act of violence. That shocked them. I mean, it shocks, I think, anybody who hears about this.
Yeah. I think when you open the play, you kind of piece together that this is like a psychiatric ward. Mm-hmm. And then they talk about him plugging the eyes out, and it is gruesome. I do think that I had kind of forgotten about like the very religious aspects, how he had the picture of Jesus and the mom was Christian, but the dad was not. I kind of think that it gets into, I don't know, do you think it gets into like parental abuse a little bit?
Yeah.
Because I like maybe like that, maybe like a trauma. Because part of me thinks that the dad was so stifling onto Alan's beliefs that I don't know. This is kind of how I took Alan's character. Mm-hmm. I thought that Alan was probably already like help me find a correct term, troubled, like a troubled kid already.
Yes, he was.
And I think that the dad was kind of, I don't know, he was almost like adamant that he was not to believe in Jesus, even though it seemed to the mom that there was an agreement that if he did, that was fine. But the dad kind of was against that, and he would kind of bust in there and tear stuff down and all those things. Sorry. And I thought that Alan was already troubled, and he had this outlet through faith, and that the dad coming down on him was kind of this like parental abusive trauma taken to the extreme. Like I do think about sometimes when you talk about satire, there's a satirical element to where it is so extreme to pull attention to an issue, and this is extreme.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that this play is satire, but I do think that Shaffer is saying that this is a problem for a lot of people, and he's highlighting I don't know, I guess the issues that can come about by making it about this obsession. Okay, I was obsessed with Jesus. You don't want me to be obsessed with Jesus? Well, I'm going to be obsessed with horse god Equus, sexually and religiously.
Yeah.
I think that to me was kind of how I took Alan's character.
I think that's 100% valid. Do you remember about the inspiration for this story? So Peter Shaffer was in a psychiatric ward for a while.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
He loved horses. And
I already know you're joking. Okay.
it has nothing to do with that.
I know that you're joking because I feel like I'm pretty observant and you have gotten me good a couple times and I have picked up on some facial cues when I know that you've got some tells.
Oh, Lord. Lady Macbeth says, my face is as a book where men may read strange matters. And so to beguile the time, I have to look like the time. I went and I adopted that dog this afternoon.
Yeah.
And then while I was in the car, my first call was to Andy, who already knew. He had already been there. He wanted to see the dog. He wanted to know what it was like. And so he answered. He and his fiance were driving to Knoxville. And he was like, hey, how'd it go? Because he tried calling me while I was in there. He's like, I want to see the dog. And he's like, how did it go? And I said, oh, no. He's like, oh, not again. Because I'd been a couple weeks ago to see a dog, and he's known that I'm looking for a new dog. And I said, oh, no, I don't think so. And he said, what went wrong? And so I got in the car, shut the door, and I said, the dog was dead.
Did you give that? Hold on, let me get to a quiet spot.
It just went way over. And we were FaceTiming, and he and his fiance were like, oh, no. And they were just agog. And he's like, you're lying. And I started wheezing. So I'm sure that there was a tell. So what's my tell?
I'm not going to tell you that.
Nah, you got to tell me. Is it that I'm looking you in the eye when I
sometimes
say
it is. It's like you're making sure that I'm following along.
Are they believing what I'm selling?
Yeah. One time I went shopping with my cousin's husband. We went Christmas shopping together and we went to Red Robin and we got to talking about I think there was a plate that they gave that was all you can eat burgers. And Ryan we had a small little group chat of my wife and his wife and us, and he texted and was like, Drew is entering an all you can eat sliders competition. And then 10 minutes later, he was like, I'm trying to get him to stop eating and he won't stop. And then 15 minutes later, he was like, have to take him to the ER. He just passed out from eating so much red meat. And so people are freaking out. And people we didn't even tell were starting to call and be like, what? And my wife was like, I need proof. And so while there was a burger competition going on in the joke, and I had Googled burger eating competition and we found this picture of a guy kind of in the background and it was fuzzy, but because it was fuzzy, it looked just like me. And it looked like it was in a Red Robin. And they're all surrounded by a big pile of burgers and the guy's just kind of like, and it went until finally my mom called him and was like, where's he at? We're going to be on the way. And so we call that the joke that went too far.
Maybe there is a clinical need for he and I as liars, to have pathological liars, to be, I don't know, we need to see a doctor like Dr. Dysart, who's going to get at the root cause. Tell me about your father. Tell me about your earliest animal experience. That's what it's going to be. Peter Shaffer's play premiered in 1973 in London. One of the first things that surprised me for this was that, which Shaffer is typically apparently known for his psychological work, but just the minimalist kind of stage. And in the opening of the book, in the opening of the book, he asserts his expectations for what the stage should be like, the costuming should be like this, what it should not be like. He wanted 6 actors wearing horse head armatures, but he did not want them in the Halloween horse costumes where one guy's the front, one guy's the back. He did not want anything like that. So he was very explicit about his expectations for the scene, the setting, and the stage can be molded around in certain ways because you just pick up the bench and move it over here kind of thing. It also reminded me of Greek theater, how there was the round kind of stage, and then you had the seating that goes up from around from that, and also a pretty minimalist set. You don't have a lot of set design for Greek theater. So it connected back to that for me.
I like the scenes where, like, they would kind of do a flashback, and Alan would be in the background kind of reenacting that as he was going through it. Or, like you were talking about earlier, the scenes where he recorded himself.
Yeah.
And, they had Dr. Dysart sitting there listening, but in the background was where, like, I guess the actual scene was going on. I don't know. I thought that would kind of have been neat. I've not watched a full adaptation of it yet. I just thought that would kind of be cool to watch. From the play side of things, or the production side of things, I did think that was cool. This play was really out there, and I think I told you when I rated it, I was kind of like, you just rated that because it was weird. I really kind of enjoyed it, to be honest with you. But I'm not going to sit here and try to say I enjoyed it on some pretentious level. It was like wild. I was like, what's going on? But I did think that would be a kind of a cool, and you were talking about minimalist sets, and I've been going over Romeo and Juliet with my kids, and I always watch the Globe version, and it's very minimalist, but I think I enjoy it's my favorite version because you are focused more on the acting. That's where the true acting comes out. So I think I enjoy the craft of the acting side of that.
Yeah, in Greek theater and in Shakespearean theater, and a lot of times you have to, as the audience, rely a lot more upon your imagination of their words. Because in the Globe, you have an open roof casting sunlight down, or rain, depending on the weather. But still, there's no nighttime. And in Greek theater, that's going to be performed during the day too, with masks that maybe you can see, maybe you can't see, depending on where you are in the stadium. So it does leave a lot for the audience to imagine based upon. So you really don't have to do a whole lot with set. Less can be more because you can move around.
We talked about this on Bird Box about leaving things to the imagination and how much better that is. It just makes me wonder if all of this CG technical stuff is necessary.
Right. Well, allegedly, Sir Ian McKellen, during the filming of Lord of the Rings, wept at one point because he was standing in front of one of these green screens and was like, what is the point? What is the point if there's not a set, if there's not a whatever, that why are we having to CGI everything? Why can't I just interact with whatever? But I don't know. That could be apocryphal too. I don't know that that's really true. Peter Shaffer is also known for another play that I remember as a movie in the 80s called Amadeus, about Wolfgang Mozart. But it's also a play of competition between Mozart and kind of like his mentor, instructor, Salieri. Do you know anything about that one? Oh, it's so good in a way because it's like, here you are Salieri and you have spent your career being lauded as this great composer. Here comes along this young punk kid that all of Europe is ringing about right now. And you know what? He's not a jerk to you, but he is a wunderkind. He can just do all of these things. And you even write a little piece for the emperor to play for him when he shows up, like, oh, Herr Salieri did that for you. Oh, isn't that amazing? And the kid sits there and is like, oh, didn't quite sound right, did it? And he's like, what if we improved it? And he's improving your work in front of God and everybody. And he's just outdoing you. One of these days, you're going to have students who outdo you in your own arena. So it was that sense of competition that was just breeding in there. I think it's a great play. Equus is not about that.
No.
But apparently, Shaffer did draw his inspiration from one true source. That years ago, he was riding around with a friend who referenced a crime like this. He didn't have any of the names. He didn't know any of the circumstances. They just came up in conversation. And the friend died not too long after that. And Shaffer never could find out any of the info. There was no way to ask him. So instead, he just kind of took the source and was like, well, it's not even about the real crime. let's talk about what it would be to drive somebody to do this. And so he wanted to take responsibility for everything else. And that's where he came up with Equus from. It won a Tony Award, and it's been lauded as a controversial but highly artful play. And it does rattle people. It fills them. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, I liked it. The only thing I don't know, maybe I'm being a snob.
I doubt it.
But to me, it's part of that seems like, do you know how, it's kind of like this man we're talking about that may or may not exist.
Mr. Equus.
Do you really like Equus because of these things, or do you like Equus because it's weird and people know it's weird and that makes you seem cool in a sense? Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because like I said, I liked it, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I liked it because it was so evaluative of our current state and made me search my inner being and all of this stuff. I liked it because I felt like I was on an acid trip at times. Or at least Peter Shaffer was.
Yeah.
I don't know. Also, too, when you kind of told me a little bit about what it was about, and then I read the opening page about like the directions, like I need this to be like this, this, and this. I was just thinking the whole time, oh gosh, this is going to be real weird. And honestly, it gave me flashbacks. Have you read The Silent Patient?
No.
It was giving me kind of flashbacks to that, just a tad, because that's another British book, and it's set in a psych ward, and he's evaluating a patient, and she won't speak because allegedly she killed her husband, and I don't know. It just kind of gave me some flashbacks to that. So I don't know. I like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
So.
The story begins with the crime. It's already happened.
Yeah.
And Dr. Dysart is in the middle of feeling conflicted about his work, feeling conflicted about the case, that he is going to roll back and say, well, let me go back to the beginning and tell you about this, and how he's approached by the magistrate, Solomon. And she's like, Dysart, I really need you. He's overwhelmed, but I really need you to be the guy that helps with Mr. Strang. And I liked his interactions with him because it seemed like they were no nonsense. Like, I have history dealing with uncooperative patients, and you are an uncooperative patient.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're done for today. I'm done with you.
It kind of reminded me of when we get these kids, especially, I don't think it matters what grade that they're in. They think that they're so unique, and I don't want to sound mean, but they think that they're so unique. An example you always get is when the kids are like, I don't like to read. Mm-hmm. Oh, do you think I've never heard that before?
Wow.
Yeah.
So original.
Yeah. Read this anyway. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of these kids who we get in class who try to stand out to others, and they think that they're just like this new thing that we in high school have never experienced before. And it's like you said, it's like, okay, you're just like the kid that was in this class last year.
Right.
Yeah.
He then works with him some on trying to get to, okay, well, tell me about your family. Tell me about, what this was like. And we do get to see glimpses of Alan being raised on TV. One of the first things he starts spouting out are TV commercial jingles of
Double mint gum.
Double your pleasure, double your fun. Double mint, double the gun.
I thought it was odd.
That. I did too, but I wrote this down that it reminded me of Bill Murray's Scrooged. Have you ever seen this? Okay. It's funny. It's Bill Murray.
But it's a
little bit out there too. But he's a guy who was raised on TV as a kid. And so his entire adult career has been like this TV zeal.
It's the kid on Willy Wonka.
It is. It's Mike TV. And all he can say is these jingles. But Alan Strang's also hiding behind that too.
Do you think that maybe Shaffer was commenting on that though? Because
like being raised as an iPad kid?
Well, yeah. Because at the time that TVs would have been that.
And his father says the same thing.
And he's wanting you to read.
Right.
Yeah.
His father is an atheist and a book printer. Mm-hmm. His mother is religious and a housewife. Mm-hmm. And his father is very disdainful of everything that he's involved in. He doesn't like him watching TV and says, we're getting rid of that TV. Like right off the get-go. And the mom is like, oh, please, no, we're getting rid of the TV. He needs to read. Kid doesn't want to read. That doesn't make him want to read either. Father doesn't like that mother reads to him about Jesus and the apostles. And so he's like, I really don't want you bringing religion into this. But then mom also is a repressive kind of parent or an ineffectual kind of parent because neither one of them want to talk about the birds and bees to Alan. It even comes up in one of the conversations, and the father is like, "Oh, I'm not so good at talking about things like I'm that's not for me. I don't."
Oh God,
if you don't talk about it, who will?
Yeah.
And the mother is the one who talked to him about that. Because she says that in her experience when working with children, that if you don't, they're going to pick it up from somewhere else, and that could be dangerous. Of where are they going to learn it from?
Oh yeah.
But I don't know that she was effective in talking to him about things either, because she kind of, I don't know, tiptoes around things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it goes like what we were talking about earlier. I think that he was very disturbed already. Probably we would, I wonder if there's ever been like some psych classes that have tried to analyze his character, like they've done with Darth Vader and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that he's got some type of mental illness. And I just think that, some of the things you were saying that I had kind of forgotten about the dad, where he was like, no TV, get this TV out of here. No reading of the Bible, get the Bible out of here. That's very controlling.
Right.
And I don't know. I just think that a lot of these things, I do think that that's one thing that Shaffer's wanting us to look at is parental trauma.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the father is eliminating things from his life, but not really filling with anything, more, I don't know, productive.
I think it does make you think as a parent, because I know like we're kind of going through that right now with Hollis. He's finally found a video game he likes, Lego Star Wars. And you and I both are video game guys. And I can remember playing Donkey Kong Country and just not wanting to stop. And, when I got to playing like Madden, I could remember being at school. I'd buy the new Madden and just be at school and I couldn't stop thinking about it so much that I finally would because I knew she would check me out. I'd call my grandma and be like, I'm sick. So I get it on that side of things, but also I know how much like unproductivity I bred into myself because of that. And so we're going through this struggle now because he's 5 and I was 4 somewhere when I got my first Super Nintendo, and we're going through that struggle of limiting and watch what you're doing, don't react to that and things like that. And I think about that a lot because I think, this is just something that brings him joy.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take that completely away, but I had to ground him for 2 weeks from his game 2 weeks ago because the way he was like reacting, he would scream at people if they'd get in front of the TV. And then he just got it back Friday, and guess what? He's grounded again until the end of the week. But like part of you hates that because, like I said, we lived that. But I also think too, like, am I putting in some type of emotional damage because I'm withholding something that he just wants to have fun?
I agree. No, you are not damaging your kid. And I get it. We all have that same thought of, am I breaking my kid? I'm telling you right now, you are not damaging your kid.
Well, I hope not.
You're not.
But this play, I think, is kind of, like you said, if we're going to replace or if we're going to withhold, what are we going to replace with?
Yeah.
And Dad just wanted him to kind of sit on his bed. And then he had the picture of Jesus. And even then, when he was just sitting on the bed, he was kind of like, what are you doing, you freak?
But also, which Dad, his aversion to religion is a problem there. But also that picture was a little bit bizarre. Like, did you pick up on that?
Yeah, and I can't remember. I was going to comment on that, but I couldn't remember exactly what was up with the picture, so I was
Mom allowed him to pick out a poster. Yeah. And so he selected one of Christ in his agony carrying a cross up to Calvary. But the picture is a very brutal, like Mom says, he was rather striped. Like it's almost like Passion of the Christ, like that kind of visceral look at it. And he has a poster of that over his bed that he just sits and just glares at all the time. So I mean, I want Jesus in my kids' hearts too, but I would feel very leery about having a picture of brutality like that right over their bed.
Yeah. I also wonder too on the dad side of things. I think if we, and I don't know, I've not had to experience that with a child that's had severe mental illness, but I do think that some parents don't know how to cope with that.
Sure.
And it is kind of like you're trying to find the source of that problem. I could kind of see that the dad going through that as well.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's the TV that's caused you to be so weird, or well, he even says that. She reads him those Bible stories, and that's caused him to be a weird kid and things like that. So,
But here's my problem with Dad. He says those things, and then he leaves and goes back to work. He doesn't stay around to try to fix anything with Alan. He doesn't involve himself in trying to fix anything. He judges, and then he leaves.
yeah.
Thanks for being around, Dad.
I'm just laughing, thinking, though, you had me on fences. And all we talked about was Dad. And now here we are.
So it turns
talking
out this
about
whole
horse
thing,
people.
Yeah. So it turns out this whole thing is actually therapy.
You and me talking about being dads.
I am also reminded of a Stephen King story with this. Stephen King's first book is Carrie. And he says in either Dance Macabre or On Writing that Carrie is based on a real person that he knew as a teenager, and that she was one of those typical weird kids. And, but I mean, weird.
Yeah.
And he took a chance on like, okay, yeah, you invited me over. I'll go over to your house and watch TV. But her house was full of scary religious iconography, like everywhere. And that over the living room couch was this gruesome, gigantic statue of Christ on a cross, like tilted over the couch so that he's looking down at you. And Stephen King writes, like, who could possibly grow up sane in a house like that?
You know, I mean, I love Jesus.
Right.
I really do. And I believe in the teachings of Christianity. I do think, though, that you can be overzealous. And, you know, to kind of get off on a religious tangent, the Bible, Paul talks about you don't need to be a zealot.
Yeah.
It's not good to be a zealot. It's unhealthy. But I think that, I don't know, I think it's more of a look at American Christianity, really. But also, too, I don't think that the politics, Christianity interwoven with conservative politics is anything new to us now. Do you know?
Right.
I think that's something that's always been going on. I think that that's like a phenomenon that's specific to here, to be honest with you. And I think that there is like a lot of overzealousy with stuff like that. And yeah, you can do that and it be overbearing to your children, because I mean, you know, you want your children to fear God. But at the same time, how, you know, we're taught a lot of times, like, you've got a loving God, you've got a loving Father, but then also he's watching you make out with the Stephen King on the couch, right? And I mean, that's just not, I don't think that that's it.
No.
That's not it. And that does mess people up.
Right.
And I think we're living through parts of that.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
My great grandma had a picture of Jesus in her living room, and it was one of those old kind of paintings of Jesus, and he's looking right at you, the viewer, and he's got his hand up, and it's just, and he's just staring, and I hated it. And that is not Jesus to me. It was a creepy, I don't know, I don't want to say judgmental, but just kind of like, I don't know. It's not one of those I'm going to get you kind of looks, but it was just like, look what you've done.
I'm watching you.
And look what you've done.
Yeah.
That's what it's like.
Well, like I said, we should fear God, but also it's not like it's like a fear out of respect.
Right.
Do you know?
Right.
It's not it shouldn't be a fear of, oh no, I didn't vote Republican, so I'm going to,
It always comes back to this.
It's my fault. I have figured that one out, to be honest with you.
No,
it's not. It is me. But when I taught that class for my whatever that one night, I mentioned something in my presentation, and I kind of was like, and it was on after that. I saw the mute buttons go down.
Great.
I was like, here we go.
Great.
And I completely lost control of the conversation, which is fun. But I was thinking that whole time, maybe you've got a problem.
Well, I think it's just a lot of us right now too. Heck, we were even having Thanksgiving breakfast in class this morning, and there was a movie playing, and everybody's sitting at tables, and one kid blurts out at the top of her voice, "How about that election, huh?" And it's just like, you can't even go at Thanksgiving without it. You're that guy. You waited to rage bait at Thanksgiving.
We did our family Thanksgiving Saturday, and I mean, I've told you I'm the minority there for sure. And I do have a part of my family that is like super deep red. And I had to sit. Shouldn't say had to. I was sitting on their end of the table this year, and I caught to giggling to myself as I was sitting down because I was like so close to being like, so Afton Bain, huh? Like just for pure entertainment purposes.
Thank goodness this all came to a head at Thanksgiving again. Again.
I do think that I think the kid had trouble, and I don't think Dad was helping him out at all. And I think that, again, that's just our lens through reading this and observing this. I'm sure that there are people who probably have religious trauma, and they would say, well, Mom was overbearing with religion and things like that. I think that that's just our lens for this.
I agree. You had brought up earlier, like with this whole scene right here where Dr. Dysart is talking to someone in front of him, but he's also thinking about the conversation that he had with Alan. So you can have that all staged at one time. And in the text of the play, those lines overlap.
Yeah.
To where over off to the left, Alan is over here thinking. And so it's like Dr. Dysart's thinking about that behind him. But in front of him is the other half of the conversation. And it's an interesting thing to watch be played out back and forth on stage. In productions that I've seen, there are 6 men wearing the horse heads, armatures of some kind, and they stand on hooves. They stand in judgment over everything going on stage and sometimes descend to the stage to move about or whatever. But Shaffer uses them as a Greek chorus of a kind.
Yeah.
He calls it this strange noise, like a humming that starts up sometimes.
Yeah.
And he calls it the Equus noise.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be Mr. Pretentious, but I really liked that. That was haunting.
What is the Equus noise?
Where it's like this hum, but it's also the, and it's like,
can we do that together?
It makes me think about like in these horror movies or thrillers, like when you're looking at the killer and he's like losing it. And you can hear the strings are building up in tension, and that's a strange noise. So it's like, what's this wavelength playing in Alan's subconsciousness, this Equus noise? If there is a wavelength, if there is this wavelength or this, I don't want to use that lyric. If there is this secret chord that David played to please the Lord, if there is some sort of wavelength that we all resonate to, like what is it? What activates it? William Butler Yeats said that there was a spiritus mundi, that we as a human race had this shared subconsciousness. So is there like this wavelength that Alan perceives or thinks he perceives, this Equus divinity, this wisdom?
I mean, I think he thinks he perceives.
Right, he thinks he does. The bothersome part for me is how, who do you think is the protagonist? Is it Dysart or Alan?
I think Dysart is.
I do too.
I think it's centered around him because he's trying to solve this. I think that's another reason I liked it, is because it was kind of like police work in a way. I think that's.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were, because I knew that's one thing you love about these stories.
Yeah,
I do.
He was trying to solve this kid, and he was like, I'm going to solve this kid. Because it's like you said, it kind of, you could almost adapt it to like a noir where he's like, maybe Strang is the murderer, and I've seen a million like him come through these streets before, baby. Right. You know, like you could do that and adapt that easily to that. It did remind me a lot of The Silent Patient too, because of that, because you're trying to crack open the patient, like to peer into their mind to solve this mystery along with the psychologist. And that's why I think that he is the protagonist, is because you are with him through this.
I agree.
Yeah.
Which means that Alan is like a foil who is like an equal and opposite that you can see some sort of parallel and contrast in. And right from the get-go, from page 1, Dysart is telling you how Alan's struggle is really also kind of his struggle.
Yeah.
Because he literally says this quote, "I'm wearing that horse's head myself." So maybe Alan believes he hears this wavelength of the Equus noise that he's struggling. But in another way, Dysart knows exactly where you're coming from too. Because he has his own bizarro dreams.
That's what I was going to say, is I think Dysart's smart enough to know that I'm having these really horrific graphic dreams that I really don't need to share with anyone in my profession, because of I am dealing with children.
Right.
And I think that he knows that. I think that that's just evidence to all of us have something in us like that.
The play goes back and forth with trying to get to the root of Alan's problems. You get into this female relationship that he has, that he's got a strange aversion to, but also a pull.
Is it an affair?
Right?
I think it is.
It's like she definitely wants the relationship.
I think he does too, though.
I feel like
because he gets to talking about, like, I've not slept with my wife in months and stuff like that. And I don't know. There were times where, thinking a way to say this, but
I know, right.
There are times where it seemed like the conversations were post-relation.
Yes.
It just kind of had that vibe to it, like they had been together and that they had, spent some time with each other, and then this was after that.
Right. I wanted to ask you also about, I have on here like famous lines or lines that I thought were significant.
Yes.
But either lines or like best moments. Whether if it was ever teachable moments or just, hey, we're just book clubbing it, I would talk about these moments or these lines.
I got one line.
Do it.
Equus, son of Flequus, son of Nequus. I spent 30 minutes looking for that.
I thought about that line on the way to school this morning because I hope he's not here to hear this. I was thinking about Greg as compared to like previous principals.
Yeah.
And I was like, you mean like Sarver, son of Carver, father of Dicus who begat Roberts who begat Swallows, and Swallows who begat Greg, his only begotten son. So it was the whole Fleckwus and Neckwus and everything. Why, other than silliness,
No, that was it. That was it.
It is absurd.
Because I just thought that was so funny when I was reading it, because you've got this really pretentious play.
Yeah.
You've got this really, I feel like Shaffer is a pretentious writer.
Do you really?
Well,
Up and down?
Like, come on. And then I feel like that the audience because I talked to you about the YouTube comments where people wrote, the one few scenes I watched from this, I think it was a college production, and they were like, oh my gosh, if you're going to do Equus, do it right. If you're not going to do it full send, don't do it at all. And I was thinking, come on, y'all are being so pretentious. And you're just, anyways. And I thought, let me read you pretentious folks a line from your pretentious play. Equus, son of Fleckwus, son of Neckwus. Come on.
Well, for my next episode, I'm getting Mr. Pretentious from out west to call in.
Please do.
And he's going to teach us about why that line is so important.
Please do.
It is absurd.
Yeah.
But Alan is absurd.
I agree.
In this branch of how he has juxtaposed his image of Christ with the horse.
Yeah. I just think that there was like that line too. I know that he's supposed to be absurd. These are some issues I had with the play. Is that line like, okay, there could have been a better way to present this kookiness.
Maybe.
We were talking about like the commercial ads he would sing. I can't remember them all off the top of my head.
Oh, there were so many.
But there was one or two, and I think the Double McGum was one where I was kind of like, we could have chosen something different.
Sure.
I don't know. I know, and that's probably me being picky and maybe me being pretentious, but I just felt like that he could have gone about it a better way of presenting this bizarreness. Honestly, I don't know that he needed to go that far on some of it. The kid was messed up.
But see, as teachers who teach unreliable narrators, and you're looking at somebody and it's like, you know what, even Dysart, how reliable is he? If he's feeling so troubled and warped by this experience, I don't know how much I'm going to rely upon that.
Yeah.
And Alan, like on the cover of our book, we have the 2008 copy here. So on the cover of ours, that's Daniel Radcliffe. That's Harry Potter himself. But it shows Alan, arms spread wide, chest bare, head tilted back, looking upward in a very Christ-like kind of, agony position. Yeah. But then from the chest down, it's juxtaposed with the image of the horse face looking out. Yeah. This is a kooky person. This is a bizarro person who he does not have a clear lens on anything going around him. So shouldn't the mad speak like the mad?
Well, I'm going
to write that down real quick.
Hold on just a second. I guess that's what I'm saying. It almost felt stereotypical.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it was stereotypical.
But even Hamlet is supposed to be crazy. And Hamlet, when he sees us, says, you are a fishmonger. And he says some really stupid lines in
Hamlet
there too.
Is a good example of that.
Because it was Shakespeare?
Well, no. Because with Hamlet, you could never tell, right? You would be like, oh, no, he's playing that he's crazy. And then you would kind of be like, no, Hamlet is crazy.
Yeah.
But then you would kind of be like, no, he's just playing crazy. There was never a time that I thought that Alan Strang was playing crazy. I thought the whole time he was crazy.
Yeah.
So with him, I don't know, maybe that was Shaffer's aim, was to have these things where you're kind of like, oh, no, he's being stereotypical.
Could be. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. What about other parts? Were there any parts that you would pick out as like, that would be like a notable part I would want to either talk about?
What about when he goes to the movies, he's trying to date that girl and his dad, they go basically to like a porn movie. Yeah. And his dad's there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of presented at first that dad was looking for him.
Right.
But then you kind of get to reading more and it's like, no, dad's been going to these by himself for a while.
I took it as, if we're talking about a psychological play about stripping those layers away of what you thought was real and what you assumed you knew about divinity that had been taught to you by parents and everything. There are times in your life where, just as part of growing up, you realize that your parents weren't the people you thought they were when you were a little kid, that your dad has flaws too, and your mom. Maybe your dad never did this. My dad didn't either. But, at some point you realize, wow, that your parents are flawed creatures too. Yeah. And that was another kind of awakening. There are moments of awakening for Alan in here.
But I just think it's like layered onto the things that we've been talking about, especially from the dad's thing. For me, when I kind of was like, oh gosh, you've been doing this to him, and then you're essentially cheating on your wife, and he's there with you while you're doing that. Come on, like it was just like another layer of that parental psychology.
I would pick the memory that he talks about when he first saw a horse.
Yeah. Well, that's when it brings into the sexual part.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's super, you would have to be almost blind or just not even paying attention to not get that. Yeah.
Well, that goes into word choice and.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a young
Shaffer's
kid.
taking you there for sure.
He's a young kid on the beach, alone by himself, digging. And that was my first thought of, okay, digging, like the poem, Seamus Heaney's poem, Digging, that you're digging to these layers of subconsciousness. So as a kid, he was digging. And then he meets a young horseman, which I thought was an interesting choice of words for this play, horseman. But here's a young male riding a horse, and instantly the kid was captivated by him. The imagery, when the young guy taught him how to ride, and the feeling of power, sweat, like all of it. It was like, okay, we get it.
Well, that gets into where I was talking about it kind of was getting homoerotic a little bit, because you think at first, oh, okay, I see what the problem is.
Yeah.
He's suppressing these feelings.
Right.
But then it was like, oh, no, he was not interested in the rider at all.
Right. But that was like his moment of activation, whatever happened to him there. But if we're talking about Equus being a blend of man and horse, then in a way it was.
Yeah.
Not just it was a blend of what happened there. I would also want to pick the part later on when he goes and like faces Equus and then finally comes to a head and stabs the horse's eyes out and everything's screaming and all. Like there are just some really powerful moments. I would want to talk about Dysart's dream. If I were teaching this to an accelerated class, I would want to talk about his dream and how it reveals like his latent fears about himself and his profession in the civilized world too.
Well, I think if we're talking about teaching an elevated class, you almost have to teach the part where they're in the stable, he and the girl, and they're attempting to come together, and he is like, shut the barn door.
Right.
I don't want the horses to see. And she thinks it's weird, but she goes along with it, and he's like, lock the door.
Yeah.
And then the horse is like pawing at the door, because there was a part for me where I was kind of thinking, maybe this is supposed to be like in this world a real thing.
Yeah.
Why is the horse, which, I mean, I've been around horses a little bit. I know that they'll paw at stuff, and if they get connected to someone, they'll follow them around, or hoof at it. They don't have paws, do they? They have hooves.
Right.
But anyways.
And they're easily spooked.
Yeah. So I just thought it was odd. Do you know?
I agree. No, I agree. That was a bothersome, because I remember watching this before I read it too, and that was a bothersome part of it to watch because the horses are getting agitated, and you're like, oh, on a wavelength, that's Alan.
They're with him.
They're with him.
Yeah.
And so it's like he hears them inside himself getting agitated.
That's what I'm saying. It made you start to think that maybe in this world Shaffer's created, maybe he's not that insane. Maybe that there is this horse realm.
Right.
Do you think the Rohirrim?
The horse lords themselves.
Yes, because they're my favorites.
Right. So I think that there's a couch over there. You should have laid back and talked more about your love for the Rohirrim. And when did this start?
Okay, I can tell you. You don't.
Did your father give you a book called Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
And
no, he actually didn't. I bought it on my own.
And you were like, worm tongue.
Worm tongue. Man, I tell you why I would love the Rohirrim. Because that scene where they show up at Minas Tirith is so cool. Yeah. But when you read the stories and you understand like the true strain that Theoden went into in making the decision to go, and he finally goes, and then the ride there is so long and difficult, and they're all thinking we're not going to make it in time, we're never going to make it in time, and then they're there, and then you pair that up with the film. Oh gosh, it's giving me goosebumps thinking about it right now, because it's just like, I know that when I had read the book, I watched the movie again with Mary Beth, and I had read that part, and I already knew I was going to get jacked up on it. And he's running, Theoden's running and clicking the thing, and he's like, Death! And they're like, Death! And he's like, Death! And it really was like one of those out-of-body things. I didn't realize it, but I was on the edge of the couch, and I was screaming with them. I was going, Death! So yeah,
it gets us amped up.
That's why
it's such
like
a great
Rohirrim.
scene.
Yeah. Which kind of made, I don't know, I feel like that it made me feel good, because it made me feel like that's not like a typical side that people go with. It's like, who could you be in the Lord of the Rings? Oh, I would be a horse lord. So I'm like, okay.
And what was
I found my people.
Didn't I pick wizard or something like that? But yeah, I think a lot of us pick wizard or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the horse lords.
And then later that night, I didn't tell this part, but later that night I was asleep with my wife, because that's what you do. You like go to bed with your wife. And I had this dream, and I was sitting there going, Equus!
But you two have this chain in your mouth, and you two are unable to deal with it. I did write that down as a line because I thought, again, is this play in some ways about me? Like, I think good readers are always going to be asking them that question, because I was raised on TV and Nintendo, just like a lot of guys our age. But also, if you ever feel caught in your career, or if you ever feel like, man, I am not creating the kind of change, or I'm not eliciting the kind of work I wanted to do, do you feel caught? Like I can't just change jobs. I can't just whatever.
Yes.
So I also have that bridle in my mouth.
Yeah.
That I'm doing what society says a good dad does.
Yeah.
You still show up. the whole idea that sometimes I have that bridle in my mouth too. Am I just being led around to do whatever? Like, that's a very confining, depressing thought. There were just a lot of times that I felt like I connected. Also, he wants to be free. And he just kind of wishes, this is Alan, that he wants to be free. He wishes that he could be a cowboy.
Yeah, I know. I was looking at that line where he says, I wish I were a cowboy.
Yeah.
They're free.
They're free.
Same, buddy.
I mean, that's the ideal American archetype, right? The free cowboy, alone on the range.
Yeah.
So this play, what makes it not taught in the classroom?
I mean, that's obvious.
The obvious. It's controversial. It's full of...
It's the horse creep.
I howled when he said that part. It is, I mean, it's a very controversial play, and it's full of conversations about sexuality and repression and everything.
Yeah.
There are a lot of psychological themes that are complex. You can just see teachers and administrators and families not wanting to have conversations about that. And also, completely fairly, not wanting it to be mishandled in the classroom too. I want to trust teachers as professionals, but I also know humans are humans are humans, and there are plenty of people who would just throw something like this in the classroom without thinking. There are plenty of people who would do so, or who wouldn't have read it or prepared or whatever. They would mishandle it in the classroom. And that's just a recipe for disaster. But also, among like so many other things, we just don't have a lot of time, right?
Yeah, I just think that I would not touch this. And
certainly not in a regular classroom. Certainly not in a regular classroom.
I don't know that I would in an elevated one.
I don't know that I agree.
And that's okay.
I
think I'm more cautious on things too.
Sure.
So.
I do want to be cautious, but I'm also the guy who teaches what I think are relatively safe things and sometimes get people's hackles up, right? Like a book that I taught this summer got a lot of parents upset. Imagine if I had assigned Equus.
Well, okay.
Imagine if I had assigned that.
Yeah, but
also in previous years, I've used Handmaid's Tale, and that's gotten people upset too. And I think there are valid concerns. Okay, I don't want those texts mishandled in a classroom if I'm the parent, if I'm the teacher, whatever. But I mean, you also want to trust a professional who knows what he's doing with them, right?
But you're not a professional. So
dang, he got me.
I think that, you know, the issue that you had with your book, I think there was a lot of things that literary people would not really blink an eye at.
Yeah.
I think that was the issue, and that's becoming more of a problem because I think that people reading deep literature, I think that reading has gone up.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think reading deep literature has gone up. I think we're reading Colleen Hoover, and we're reading The Maid. Is that right?
Yeah.
What's her name?
Frida McFadden.
Frida McFadden. We're reading Frida McFadden. We're reading this McFiction. We're reading this, and that's what's kind of insane to me is would a Colleen Hoover book get parents fired up? I'm going to say no, because they're going to turn to a Hollywood adaptation, and that's probably going to be watered down. Mm-hmm. And they're going to say, that's okay. I think that's, like I'm saying, like this deep literature aspect is not being examined. And it's good that reading goes up, because you're going to hope that maybe in 5 or 10 years that there's going to be a payoff for those people who are starting to get into that. Because as you read more, you do start to desire more of those deeper, because you kind of start to venture into waters, and you're not really aware when you're a new reader of, oh wow, this is a deep literary book, and then you're like, wow, what made that so good? I want to read more like that. And then the next thing you know is like, I want to push Colleen Hoover to the side and Frida McFadden over here because I want more of this. Right. So I guess I'm kind of hoping that in like 5 or 10 years there's going to be a payoff to that. I know that there are more audio bookers out there as well. I just think that with that book, I think that was the issue, is that we just aren't we just don't have as well read of a society as we hope.
And are afraid to be challenged.
And are afraid to be challenged. Yeah. Because that's what they always say. Well, there are other books out there. Yeah, I mean, you're right to an extent. You're right to an extent. But what are you wanting me to read? Where the Red Fern Grows?
Right. I'll tell you that I do, having gone through this play myself and thought my thoughts and ideas about it, I do kind of want to experiment with it one time with an AP Lit classroom and right from the get-go say, we have college level expectations.
Yeah.
You are the experiment with this. This is maturity and this is what it looks like. And I want to have frank conversations about psychoanalytical lenses. What were some other things on here, like these questions about identity, mental health, expressing who you are versus repressing? Like, these are things that teenagers who are on the cusp of adulthood, who are 18 years old, are adults, that they wrangle with all the time. It gives a rich psychological lens for looking at human struggles, things that we don't want to talk about and we hide all the time. But even Dr. Dysart gets, you know what? I kind of get where the kid's coming from. I feel that way in my job too. There's symbolism. There's monologues that you can compare to other monologues you're going to encounter in the semester. I kind of just want to one time guinea pig it with a class and say, we're going to be the real adults this time. And
I think
if you feel uncomfortable, okay.
I think you could have with the group you had this year.
I think so.
I think you could have.
I don't know about next year's group, but that's also an ever-changing landscape too. Who knows what that would be? But one time, I kind of just want to pull the trigger on it and do this.
I think that goes into what we were talking about, though. You were talking about like these mental illnesses and these psychological things and these parental traumas and these parental choices and things like that, you know. Excuse me, you and I read these parental things and are willing to bring this mirror up. It's kind of like with Fences, with Troy Maxson. There was that moment where I was kind of like, whoa, am I Troy Maxson? Mm-hmm. Am I Troy Maxson? But that's a good thing that I look at that and say, ooh, Drew, there might be some of you in Troy, you know? Right. Because then I can look at that and I can go back and maybe fix those things. And I just think that that's part of some of these issues that I guess the parents are bringing up is they're afraid to look into that mirror, you know, they're afraid to look into that because maybe we're afraid of what we actually will see.
So it sounds an awful lot like this play. It sounds an awful lot like this play of what are you afraid to bring up about yourself? What are you afraid to talk about? That maybe if I left you alone with a recorder, you could actually confess it.
I mean, yeah.
Or if you were alone in your room, you could actually say the word Equus out loud.
Yeah.
Well, what are you afraid? Why are you afraid to say this word? It's not Equus, but whatever their shibboleth is, like whatever that catchphrase, like whatever their struggle is. Why are you afraid to engage with these things? Are you afraid, like what's it going to challenge about you and your assumptions about life? And why aren't you comfortable with challenging those assumptions?
And I am not advocating for like a vulgar society, you know? You and I have talked about how we've had a lot of people move in the area and their language does not match with our language. Like there's a lot of cussing out in public, like just kind of like, what are you doing? Not to say that you and I don't cuss on our own and stuff like that, but it's just kind of like I just can remember you talking about you sitting next to the family at Mama Rosa's and how that was just nonstop. And I've been in that situation too, where it was kind of like, hey, I've got kids and I want to turn around and say something to them. And then, oh, you've got kids too, so you don't care if I have kids. So I'm not saying like I am for a vulgar society. And I also am not saying that I think that anyone can read anything, because I don't agree with that. I think that she shouldn't read this book. You know, I think that there are age appropriate things. I do think though that for my daughter, when she comes through and if she gets to have Jason Crockett and she tells me she's signing up for honors, she comes home and says this book offended me, I think that there is a conversation that needs to be had of, well, you are choosing to have a deeper thinking course. Maybe we are getting ready to wade into that water.
Didn't Ray Bradbury in Fahrenheit 451 say maybe we ought to be bothered sometimes?
Yes.
That we ought to have those notions.
When's the last time you were bothered?
Right. Because if we're not bothered by anything, what are we even doing here? Like we're just going through what you called the McFiction. We're just going through the TV shows, the McNugget.
And that's not real life.
It's not.
It's not real life. Sorry, I got on a rant.
No, that's good. So before we finish up,
Yeah.
Two of the things that I talk about on here, like cool lesson ideas for teaching this.
Yeah.
But then also we want to rate it and talk about, what's good, what's not about it. One of my ideas for teaching it was like, I'm a visual person and I like the posters. I like the visual representations of their learning, but I also want it to line up with the writing process, because if all we're doing is just making cute posters, that's Crayola curriculum. We're not here to do posters. But I also think that you can do these visible things that line up your thinking. So I wanted the students to create a star map that laid out the way they would approach an essay on symbolism that it helps define or fuel or challenge Alan's characterization. Because you think about things like, what are some of the more important symbols? The horse, the bit, the TV, the microphone, the spike. It could be anything that you pick out of here. And the students would pick, like, let's say 6 to 10 symbols, something like that, 6, 7. And whatever they have selected, let's go ahead and write out from there, what are your ideas? What's symbolic about it? How does it add to his complex characterization? And then the next one, how is that another layer on top of the previous one? The next one, how is that another layer that either challenges or helps enhance over and over and over? And so they're going to create a visual representation. It could start out like a poster, or it could go in a lot of different ways. I often do this around Thanksgiving with the hand turkey, and that's my outline for Major Essay 3. And it sounds elementary and ridiculous, but you draw a hand turkey, and then you trace your hand on the page. But in the palm is where you write your thesis, and then over your main fingers, you are writing out what are your main topics, what are your paragraphs going to be about, and under each of them you bullet point your ideas and commentary beyond it. So the same kind of thing with this star chart for Alan. What is going to be your constellation for the horse head? And why is it symbolic? What's your commentary? The next one, what's symbolic about it? What's your commentary? To force them to follow that line of reasoning that begins in the very middle of their star chart, where their Alan would kind of be like the Vitruvian Man from Da Vinci, who's just kind of there in the middle of it somehow. However they want to represent it, they're not being graded on the artwork. I want to use it as a one-pager or even a bigger poster that maps out how they're going to write this essay and follow that line of reasoning. Because that's what I really struggle with, that line of reasoning and planning out their essay. But another idea I had on here was that we were going to create horse heads. And
You stole mine.
I did have on here that I thought, if you wanted to make masks where you pick a spirit animal, you pick an animal that represents you somehow, like that could be something, but I don't want to descend into Crayola curriculum.
Yeah.
But we could also just make horse heads, and then I do it on the day I get evaluated, and I have all the kids in here while I'm teaching wear their horse heads, and one kid gets up and like...
And they do.
And they all get upset whenever the administrator gets up to leave. They something like that. What about you? Do you have any ideas of how you would teach this with a class or what you would do with it?
I would teach the entire time with a horse head on.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant.
And show episodes of Mr. Ed.
And then we could hand out like other costuming props, and all the kids could reenact the scenes.
I don't know. That's what I was saying. This is one that I don't know that I would probably bring into the classroom just because it's so out there. I think you'd really have to get some buy-in to it, and I just think that that's just hard to do. I know that you and I know that I'm teaching the land breakers in the spring, and part of me is kind of thinking like you may have to really get them to buy into this, and I'm kind of wondering if I'm going to be able to get a complete. Do you know what I'm saying?
I guarantee if anybody's going to, it's you. Because you already have the love and the interest for it, and that kind of zeal is what's going to sell people on it.
Maybe. But, Barbara Gerber also said, I wish I'd have never taught my favorite book. I don't know.
It kills your love for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that really probably like a character analysis of Alan, just looking into like the different traumas and, like we were talking about, what makes up Alan And honestly, you could almost maybe do like a case study type of thing where they are Dr. Dysart.
Oh, yeah.
And we need to find out what we think is the root cause of Alan. Because like I said, we could say, well, it was dad. And we could say, well, it was already there. It was just amplified. Or we could say, well, mom was very passive. Or we could say, it was his interaction with the horseman. You know, we could talk about all these things. Or maybe it was the trauma from I was finally on my first date. Even though you're not led to think that, I think you could probably put 1 and 2 together very easily with some evidence and say, well, he was on a date with a girl and he was about to be successful in a sense, and dad was there. Mm-hmm. And then also so was horse dad, you know. Right. I think that, so you could almost, I think that if you did something like that, like a case study, like maybe hand them like a file folder, right?
Well, we challenge kids to write persuasively, and I think that's a great angle, is what is the most like devastating or the most impactful?
Well, that's going to force them to have to at least look at a couple of perspectives. Mm-hmm. You know, your students, at least my students, I sound so awful. My students are not going to examine more than they have to. But I do think if you get in an elevated classroom, they're going to at least sit there and think about, well, what is the root cause of this? And they're probably going to think about certain moments of the play. And then, you know, you're going to have those that flip to it and read through. And no, I don't think that that's it. So I do think that would force them to have to actually analyze these elements that have all built, how have all of these things built Alan? Right. Because then you could come to that conclusion. It's all of it.
So then we're going to be hosting an AP Institute next year, and you can sit in the back of the room and say, well, when I teach Equus.
When I teach Equus. Equus. I'll say Equus.
Equus.
With 2 G's. I love Equus.
You got any biscuit for this Equus?
Legos of my Equus.
Equus and bacon. If you had to rate this 1 to 5, like a Goodreads score, where are you going to rate it?
I rated it 2 on Goodreads, but that's what I was saying. I wish I had rated it a 3. I need to go back and change that.
I thought for sure you would give it a 3.
It's a 3, yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is. That's what I was saying. I enjoyed it. It was weird, and that was when I rated it a 2. I thought that I was being whatever the opposite of pretentious is, where it's kind of like well, this was just so arty-farty and things like that. I thought you just did that because of that. I did enjoy reading it. Is it my favorite thing I've read? No. Do I prefer Fences over it? Yeah, every day. Would I prefer Hamlet over this? Yeah, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
But I liked it. I liked the ride.
I'm going to gallop past that. Okay. And I can't even remember what I rated it now. after that comment. No, 3. Yes, I was a 3 as well.
It's been a long time since we have.
Yeah. But I feel like my 3 leans to the 4 and your 3 leans to the 2.
Mine, yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's just like an old 3.
It's an old 3.
It's an old 3.
That's what Papaw says. Yeah. It's an old 3. Yeah. Mine leans to the 4 just because I was really surprised by the depth of different discussions, angles, things I could talk about with it. But yeah, I'm sure it's not a play I'm going to reread because I want to. But I guarantee you, if I had to teach this once a year to one elevated class every single year, I'm going to have the same reaction that I had to Gatsby, where I notice new things and I appreciate new things and yada, yada, yada. Just
maybe. I don't think that I would. Mm-hmm. Because that's what I was saying. When you were talking about like this analytical thing in the hall, I thought, oh gosh, I just thought about it as like a guy who loved horses.
We could even co-teach it.
I would love to do that, really.
And I could be on the stage on a bench and you could be wearing the horse's head off to the side. And I could be like, but what is this really about? And you just go, and then stomp the ground.
Second Stage is a Free Zone Radio production, recorded in Sparta, Tennessee. If you enjoyed the show, please give it a like, share it, subscribe for more. Word of mouth is the best advertising. And if you want to hear more, look up our other podcast with honors, now in its newest season. and our brother podcasts, A Dead Man's Books and Haston Curation. You can find them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you consume great podcasts.
Hey everyone, my name is Drew, and I want to talk to you about my show, A Dead Man's Books. The show was created with the mindset of whenever I pass away, as morbidly as that sounds, that my children would inherit my books, and of all the things that I'm going to pass down to them, I think that that's the one thing that I want them to make sure that they keep and go through on their own time, but I want to be there next to them whenever they read these things. And so I created a podcast so that they could go back and listen to me and my friends and other people as we read through these books and what we had to think about it. But it's grown to so much more. We've got authors we interview. We talk about everyday life. We talk about how literature connects to life. All of those things in one place. And now we want you to come along with us and join us. This is a podcast not just for my kids, but for everyone who loves to read, everyone who loves a good story, everyone who's a parent, everyone who's a teacher, everyone who just enjoys literature. This is a place to come. So come join us every Monday on A Dead Man's Books.